All right, we continue on Bronco Nation news. As we said, Mountain West basketball coverage in the summer. There's never a bad time to be talking Mountain West basketball. Love talking hoops and get a chance as we're doing our Lindy's Magazine stories to kind of double dip and talk to some of the coaches as well and bring that coverage to you here on Bronco Nation News. And we're going to head over to the Air Force Academy and catch up with Coach Joe Scott, 5th year back in the second term as the head coach at Air Force. And Joe, appreciate your time as always. Welcome to Bronco Nation News, and how's it going today?
Doing well, BJ. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate you coming on. Your team, obviously, and you're in the toughest position of any coach in the league, obviously, with what you have to deal with. But just talk about your roster and your team, and I guess big picture-wise before we dive into some of the players. But obviously, it was a struggle last year, 2-16 in the league, and I know you're trying to build on that, and you lose a couple key guys. I don't know if you expected to lose or not, but just big picture-wise, 30,000 feet, what's the synopsis of the Air Force program right now?
Well, I mean, we have next year we have 5 seniors coming back. So obviously, in this day and age, in college basketball, you got to figure out a way to be old. The other schools don't have to figure out a way to be old because if they lose somebody, they just replace them with an old guy.
Yep.
Whereas that's not the case with us. So, it's just a different world today than it was the first time around. You can transfer and play right away. And obviously, people are getting paid money. So hard thing is what you mentioned, hard thing is how do you maintain your roster? You know what I mean? And for us, how do you maintain your roster? And then we can't replace whoever we lose with a 23-year-old guy, a 22-year-old guy, a guy who's played in college 3 years or 4 years or 5 years already. So, that's the trick. And like I said, didn't happen the first time around. This is a new world. And, next year, like I said, we have 5 seniors. So that's great. It's what we need. Unfortunately, we have no juniors, so we're back in the same position again where we don't have the following junior class. So somehow, some way, we got to figure out a way in this environment. The number one goal is to figure out how to get 4 and 5 guys who to their junior years and do that 2 years in a row.
And speaking of 2 years in a row, unfortunately, you did lose one of your key best young players 2 years in a row. And like you said, you can't just, let's go see who's available in the portal and replace. I mean, you can't do it. And so excuse, whatever. I mean, it's reality for you guys. It is what it is. You have this plan, and when someone leaves, it just changes that plan. I mean, is it just the way it is and you got to move on? Or, I mean, there's not much you can do about it, I guess, except you guys like playing here and don't want to leave and no one tampers with them or whatever else. But I mean, for 2 years in a row that to happen where you lose one of your key best young players, I mean, that's really got to hurt.
Well, I mean, it hurts just because, everything we do and is about development, getting guys who nobody else recruits any of the guys at our place in our league. So for us to be able to get guys, coach them, recruit them out of high school when nobody else did, coach them, get them better. And to your point, then have them leave, it's impossible to replace that, and I'd like to think if you ask the other coaches in the league, if we'd kept the kid Haida Breeder, we had 14 wins that year. If we'd kept him and we'd kept Petritis and those guys were juniors and seniors coming up, you know what? I think we'd be playing to be in the top half of the Mountain West and people would be saying, how's Air Force doing this? But that's not the way of the world today. So I can't concern, like I said to you earlier, I'm just concerning myself with one goal of how do we get 5 and 6 sophomores to become juniors, and then we got to do that 2 years in a row. In this day and age, I said this 2 years ago, 3 years ago, approaching 3 years ago now, when they said, because that's the only amount of time this has been. It's been 2 years and 9 months, 2 years and 10 months since they said you can play right away and you can get paid. I said, you know what? I don't know. We'll find out what's different the second go around with this, because I don't know if you'll be able to keep your players. We did the first time, and now here we are, and we just got to keep plugging along, figure out a way to keep these guys. And like you said, in this day and age, I don't know. I don't know when you talk about the money that they get thrown on, when you talk about the level of this league, the level of this league, and then you talk about guys getting 12, 13, 14 a game in this league. I mean, come on, the amount of money and the fact that you can go play right away, that's what we're up against.
Yeah, not only it was kind of a double whammy for you guys. The one thing that the sitting out 1 year, sucks by itself. Then the NIL money happened a week later or at the exact same time almost, and that was just kind of a change, turn this whole thing upside down. But you still do have a lot of returning talent on this team, and I know you like some of the youngsters as well. Talk to us about a couple of some of these key returners. Let's start with Ethan Taylor. I mean, this guy was never on the bench. I think he played almost 37 minutes a game, was up there near the top of the nation in terms of minutes played, was a steady force for you, and I think 84 threes are right up there near the top of your team. So, I mean, just with what he does and what he provides, how nice is it to have a guy like Ethan to build around here this year?
Well, I mean, like I said, I think we have 5 seniors, and that's important. And it's important in terms of physical strength, and experience. You put those 2 things together, they go hand in hand. But in this day and age in college basketball, if you don't have physical strength, forget it, because you're playing against 24, 25, 23. Nobody's playing with 18, 19, and 20-year-old kids anymore. So you need physical strength. So when we have these guys who are seniors, it's a big emphasis for us. We got 5 guys who should be stronger. And then in Ethan's case, he's got tons of experience. And now that experience next year, BJ has to show up when we get into league play. One of the things that's happened, over these last couple of years is he sort of wears down. So that falls on me. I got to figure out, and we got to figure out a way to cut down his minutes, obviously, to not have him wear down. But then again, we all know that the Mountain West is a big jump up in competition. And what I just said, it's a big jump up in physical strength and age. And we got to see from Ethan, and not just him, but all 5 of those guys that, no, we're stronger. We're stronger. We're going to be able to handle that challenge in the league better. That's our 5 seniors' job. And if we can do that, and he's got to lead the way. And to your point, 84 threes, but so many of them were in non-league. He's got to be able to, in league, continue, because, I need him to shoot the ball. I need you to get up 9-10 a game, man. That's your job. In order to do that, that you got to be in shape. You got to be strong. You got to be able to handle that. You might be the focus of the other team's scouting reports. Doesn't matter. You got to get up 8, 9, 10 threes, because that's what this team needs. He's got to show next year that he can do that. And the other guys have to continue to show the strength. And if they do that, then we're going to take a little tour here to Canada and play 5 games. And a big part of that tour is, besides, what we still do is believe in college and educational experiences. Big part of it's going to be, these 8 sophomores I have who've played, some of them have. We got to find out who's actually going to be able to help us, how many are going to be strong. And that's sort of our team, these seniors and these sophomores. And between that, we got to find, 8, 9 guys who are going to be able to handle the rigors of Mountain West basketball.
I wanted to ask you about some of those sophomores who we can expect to maybe step up, but the 2 other seniors, Bo Becker and Jeffrey Mills. And I guess start with Bo. We talk about threes and being a senior. He made 74 threes himself last year, was 13.8 points per game. What's the outlook, I guess, for Bo's senior year here?
Same. I mean, I got to figure out a way again. In all these guys' cases, it's going to be the same. They got to get stronger. That's been a huge focus for us across the board. And then I got to figure out a way to play them less. I mean, that's just what, in order to do that, like you said, well, how are you going to do that, coach? You got to have somebody to put out there. Yeah. And that's the key. If I can get some of these sophomores to come in, then I can have Bo play less. And is that going to, same thing with Bo, unbelievable, wears down. When you get into Mountain West play in late in the season and we're there, he's got these open, he's got to make them, for us to have a chance to win some of those close games. Got to make those threes. There's no question about it. So again, he's got to be stronger. His experience has to kick in, and I got to figure out a way to play him less. And that means some of these sophomores are going to have to step up. And then Jeff's same. Jeff's a great, he's like a glue guy. You know what I mean? If Ethan can do his job, if Bo can do his job, Ethan's one of those. I mean, Jeff's a great glue guy. You look at his numbers last year, assist to turnover ratio. He started to shoot the ball a little bit better. He's never
almost 39% from 3.
It's huge for us. You know what I mean? So you're never going to look at him and he's never going to blow you out of the water. Just, wow, look at that guy. But for us, he's like that glue guy that every team needs. Every good team has a guy like that. And again, for him to be, have that much of an impact, those other 2 guys have to really be doing their jobs, because that's when glue guys come into play, when those other guys are really doing their jobs. But I think we have the makings there. He's got to continue to grow. But again, a lot of it's going to come down to how those 2 classes like mesh and sort of come together, so that I can and we can sort of have 8, 9 guys and not have a guy playing 37, 36 minutes.
Joe Scott, our guest for a couple more minutes here, the head coach at Air Force. And I know you said you're going on the summer trip to Canada, so you'll figure more of this out there. But who amongst that sophomore group do you really need to take that next step this year?
Well, I mean, last year what we did was we played, the kid Luke Carney played. Again, when you talk about for us, freshmen to sophomores, it's going to be who's going to actually, same as the seniors, but who's taking that step, who's taking that step from their freshman to sophomore year, who's actually stronger. Luke's extremely competitive. He's really growing. He's maturing. He's played a little last year. He hit some big shots for us. He's going to be key. I played the big guy, the 7-footer, Wes, a little bit, Selachowski down the stretch again. How much is he going to develop and grow? Those are two guys. And, I played this kid, Colby Gills. I mean, and then another kid, Brady Ruggles. I mean, right there's 4 guys who have the kind of size, the temperament. I think they're guys that love basketball. We got to get more guys who love basketball, and have that kind of mindset. I think some of these guys are. But those are 4 guys right there that we're going to be looking to see, can you guys grow and step up and merge in and meld sort of with that senior class?
I know in the summertime, everybody probably hopefully loves their team. If not, that's not a good sign. But I mean, you look at your team and where you're at, and having 3 senior veteran starters back, and you like some of these young guys. I mean, overall, just I know, like you said, it's a long time till you play a game, and a lot of improvement to be had and made this summer. But how do you feel just overall about the team?
I mean, I feel good. I mean, I feel good about those guys we talked about. Obviously my one disappointment is, again, like I said earlier, we have no junior class, and that's just hard. So a big thing is going to be these sophomores and how they come along, and how many of them can we get to come along so that they can become juniors. But again, we have these 5 seniors, and it's like any program when you can point to upperclassmen and say, see, that's what it's supposed to look like. They've done it. I think that's always helps, get a kid to grow and be the same way, and obviously everybody calls that leadership. But again, we need that kind of leadership, and we need to do it 2 years in a row. And, we'll see. Like I said, we're going on this tour. Obviously, that's always a good thing, just to get the extra practices and to get those competitions for guys who maybe haven't played that many minutes. And it's a way to have our team sort of come together a little bit earlier, so that these questions that we have, this discussion that we're sort of having, I get some answers to those questions in late July, early August, so that maybe we give a little jump, when we start up sort of, I don't even know, we probably start in September these days, but when we start up, we're not starting from scratch there. And mostly for our players, those sophomores, it's mostly for those sophomores. So they're not starting from scratch, and they know we're counting on them. And who's going to sort of take that responsibility? Who's going to step up and really take that responsibility? And that's what I'm anxious to see when we take this tour, at the end of July and early August.
And I guess final question for you: this league, I mean, it doesn't get any easier. I know I'm not asking. I know you haven't studied every roster of every team in the league at this point. And there's still movement happening around the league. But just in general, I know Danny Sprinkle moved on, but you retained a lot of the other key coaches at key spots, and you expect these teams to just kind of rebuild. And I know there was a lot of teams that were hit in the portal, negatively, and got some guys as well. But just, do you expect it to be the same old, just no easy nights in this league this year?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I just think, when you look at the last 2 years, these last 2 years have sort of coincided with what we said earlier, in terms of it's only been 2 years and 10 months, since they made these changes. And if you look at those changes, you'd have to think that the Mountain West has been one of the conferences that's really taken advantage of those changes in terms of guys. Then you throw in the COVID year and the extra years, and now guys who lost their eligibility, whatever, over the last 5 years, they're going to be able to get another year. So I just think in this league, what's occurred is schools have done a really good job already. Basketball schools, historically, schools that care about basketball, first and foremost, those schools really taking advantage of these sort of rules and changes that have occurred in the league, doing a really good job of taking advantage of that. And like you said, good coaches, good players, all older now. And because of that, I don't see anybody taking a drop. Back before, somebody would go up to the top of the league, and as they're at the top of the league, guys would graduate, they'd lose guys, and, you'd sort of have to rebuild. And since they're basketball schools, they would, but they'd have to take a year or two. It doesn't happen anymore. Nobody's taking, the top of the league is not taking a step back, because they're going out, and whoever they lose, they're replacing that guy with the same guy, and And to be honest, BJ, the guy they're replacing him might be better. He could be older. He could be stronger. He could be better. They're not replacing him with an 18-year-old high school kid, so they're not going to take a step back. And all that does is make our league the league that it is, which is, you know what? It's a top 5, top 6 league in this country. There's no question about it. And I expect nothing. I don't expect anything to change in that regard.
Well, it is crazy as I'm looking at all these rosters and looking at last year's rosters and this year's roster. Heck, I'm talking to coaches in the Mountain West who are like, before we do the interview, hold on, let me look over my roster one more time. Like trying to just remember who all their players are. There's so many new guys. I mean, it is just it's crazy, but you got some intriguing, on paper, you got some intriguing guys, Coach. I think you guys are going to surprise some people this year, and I know this summer trip will be great for you guys, and looking forward. And I'll tell you what, I mean, no coaches like coming to play at the academy. So I mean, you're gonna have a lot of close games that maybe in the past haven't gone your way. Maybe you can get that flipped over, and you could really quickly change your record, I think, in a quick way this year. So we appreciate you jumping on. Best of luck with the trip in the summer, and we'll catch up with you probably down in media days in October there in Las Vegas. We appreciate it, Joe.
All right. Thanks for having me on, BJ.